Live from Charlotte, Oldsmobile presents the Winston Stock Car Race. And that's the view that fans see when they come into the front of Charlotte Motor Speedway, a giant executive tower. It's all the brainchild of the president of the Speedway and top promoter at NASCAR, Humpy Wheeler. And inside that tower, among other things, the Speedway Club, where you can enjoy the racing on linen and crystal. A really magnificent development as part of this really unbelievable Charlotte Motor Speedway. And over 100,000 people are in the stands now, and they're here to see the Winston. Good afternoon. I'm Paul Page, and the excitement has already peaked here. They're looking forward to a full afternoon of racing. We've already seen one race and plenty of entertainment, but there's much more to come here from Charlotte, and a great deal more to come here on ABC Sports. Now here, we're concerned with the Winston, a stock car race, but a very special stock car race. Now, a very unusual format. It's actually 3 races this afternoon. A 3-race format, and the winner will take home at least $200,000. The first race is 75 laps, or a little over 112 miles. And the winner of that will take home $20,000, but also the finish of that determines the lineup for race number 2, which is 50 laps or 75 miles. And again, they will line up according to the finish of race number 2 for a 10-lap dash, and that race will bring home $200,000 to the winner. It's a very, very interesting concept. Now, with us to help call the action here today, 19-year veteran of Winston Cup racing and a competitor here in the Winston in 1987, Benny Parsons. Good to have you on board. This is a very unusual situation.
Paul, thank you very much. And it is unusual. Folks, this format, if we were to go to the garage area and talk to the 20 drivers in the Winston and ask them, do you like the format? I think the majority would say no. Let's throw the green flag, race for 150 miles, 200 miles, and the winner waves the checker flag over him, and he gets the $200,000. But this race isn't for the drivers or the crews. This race is for the fans. The over 100,000 people that are here today that bought a ticket to see this, and you at home that are going to watch this on television. This ought to be an exciting event. And when the day is over and Paul Page says, goodbye, thanks for joining in, if you don't grab the telephone and call someone and say, I just saw the doggonest thing I've ever seen in my life, then the format was not successful. But I think you will.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Benny Parsons is looking forward to a great one. Now, also with us is 3-time Indianapolis 500-mile race winner Bobby Unser. Bobby, 3 different races, 3 different distances. That requires some real special planning and some tactics.
It certainly does, Paul. The first race, 75 laps, and it's going to be a race where the drivers are going to be playing with each other, jockeying for position, seeing how the cars work, like grafting, like slipstreaming. Then a 10-minute break, and then the second race. This is 50 laps. Now here, the guys got to really get it up. They're really going to have to vie for positions. The guys in the back going to have to get up front. The guys in the front, of course, want to stay there. 10-minute intermission after that, then 10 laps, the shootout. Winner takes $200,000. And on the front row, a Ford and a Chevrolet. Right behind them, a Pontiac. Paul, this could very well be the finest stock car race any of us have ever seen.
And $200,000 is more than enough to get the attention of any racing driver. Now, it's not only the race format that's unusual, the qualifying is unusual as well. Qualifying was held here at Charlotte yesterday. Now, in the qualifying, they run 3 laps against the clock, but they also have to make a pit stop during those 3 laps. Now, the fastest lap of the day was turned by this man, Bill Elliott. But when he came in for his pit stop, well, the crew got a little crossways. The pit stop ran just a little bit long with 14 and 65/100ths of a second, and that took his overall time down. So Elliott will start this race back in 9th place. Dale Earnhardt, the fastest crew in NASCAR, 4-time world champion pit crew, and they really demonstrated that fact yesterday as they came in with a pit stop at 13 and 21/100ths of a second, which helped some pretty good laps turned by Dale. He was, for a time being, at least, the pole sitter. But then it was Terry Labonte. He had some great laps. His laps were aided by this incredible stop at 11 and 45/100ths of a second. Look, even Junior Johnson is out there helping the crew, and as a result, he had the fastest overall time of the 3 laps, and that put him on the pole for the Winston. Starting alongside will be Dale Earnhardt. So we've got a real shootout. Ford and Chevrolet right on the front row. And let's go down now to the front row of this field. Here's Jack Arute.
And Paul, we've talked about the performance of the drivers, the pit crews, and Bobby Unser alluded to the performance of the cars. This car here, owned by Junior Johnson and driven by Terry Labonte, this year is a Ford. Last year it was a Chevrolet. Now who took over for the Chevrolet brigade this year? Dale Earnhardt, driving a brand new car, the Lumina. The people have waited for a number of months to come into competition. It came 2 weeks ago in Talladega, Alabama, and you can see the sloped nose as it runs the air up and over. This will be driven by Dale Earnhardt, and he'll lead the Chevrolet brigade. But if you look at the two cars in contrast, to my eye, they look an awful lot alike. And that's what's important when you're going for $200,000 on the nose. Paul?
Well, Jack, certainly in the start of the first race, we're also going to be keeping an eye on a car starting back in the 9th starting position. It's that famous number 9 that belongs to Bill Elliott. And right now, near the car is Jerry Punch.
Well, Paul Page, you know, he talked about qualifying. Normally, if you're the fastest car in the field, you start up front where Jack Arute was a minute ago. But Bill Elliott will be starting back in 9th spot. Of course, the pit stop was a little bit slower than they'd like, but he will start his melling forward back here. Now, it's been an abysmal beginning for the season for Bill Elliott. Unlike a lot of champions, he has not had a good beginning to the year. He broke his wrist at Daytona prior to the main event. The champions this year are not having a good year. Danny Sullivan at Indianapolis before their biggest event of the year, and Bill Elliott before Daytona, a broken arm. Now, he would like to turn the season around. Today's showing here in the Winston could do that for Bill Elliott. He feels like he may have the fastest car in the field, and we'll see if he can make that move up front early on. Paul?
Thank you, Jerry. Well, I got to tell you, the drivers are getting ready. You can imagine there's a bit of tension there with $200,000, perhaps even more on the line to the winner. The crowd, well, they're pumped. Over 100,000 people, and they are ready for the running of the Winston. So the drivers have now been introduced. The cars are sitting on the pit road. They're ready to go, and we are ready to go racing. We'll be back right after this. We're back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the running of the Winston, the 5th annual. Giant crowd as they begin to clear away all of the paraphernalia used for the preliminary ceremonies. The drivers move toward their cars, and let's go to Jack Arute, who is with the pole sitter.
And Terry Labonte is strapping himself in the car. We are just moments away from the start of race number 1 in the Winston. Terry, when do you run for real? What do you hold back in these first couple of segments?
It doesn't count to the end. You know, the last 10 laps is the most important part. We'll just try to really figure out what we got to do for that last segment.
Flanking him on the outside of this front row is a driver that has really brought a lot of excitement into this race in years past. Who can forget the tremendous finish in one of the Winstons a while back when Dale Earnhardt passed in the grass to take the lead. Dale, are we going to see a lot of excitement today in this Winston?
Yeah, I checked out the turf down there. It looked pretty good coming across the grass. I think we'll be all right.
Paul, it's going to be a barn burner.
All right, so the front row is ready to go. Let's go a little further back in the field, and Jerry Punch.
Well, the man who hopes to be a part of that barn burning, Paul, is here, Bill Elliott. And Bill, with the kind of beginning you had this year, you're hoping, I know, this race could turn your season around.
Well, I certainly hope so. You know, back in '86, we really started out tough with my brother Ernie being sick, and this race really turned things around that season. You know, the way things have gone this season, it's been a tough year. I feel good. I felt good at Talladega. I feel good in the race car right now. I think the car is working pretty good, and I just hope we have a good race.
He referred to 1986. He had not won a single event as he has this year. He came into the Winston, dominated the show, and went on to have one of the best years of his career after winning this Winston back 3 years ago. Paul?
So we'll definitely be tracking the activity of Bill Elliott. 20 cars on the straightaway now, ready for the start of the engines. Look at the magnificent crowd here at Charlotte. Let's take a tour around this course. Charlotte is one of the most challenging and demanding superspeedways in NASCAR. At 1.5 miles around, 60 feet wide, and with its bank, it's plenty fast. It needs a lot of horsepower and top handling. Let's take a ride with Darrell Waltrip.
Okay, folks, hang on to your hats. Here we go. One time around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're coming down to get the green flag. And we're off to the races. Across the start-finish line. Dropper down low, going down there by the trolls. Out wide, down low into turn 1, bump. Keep it down on the white line. Up the throttle. Car picks up speed, coming out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway. Drifts up. Pick up the throttle. Start off front. Right out next to that wall. Whammo! Kick up a little dust as you come to the trial zone. One lap around Charlotte Motor Speedway.
And they're sitting quiet for the moment at least as the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip as he prepares to start this race. He'll start from the inside of the third row. So the field now ready. The drivers are strapped in. They're in position. A final word with their crews. The tactics being reviewed again and again, and this is a very tactical event this afternoon. 3 different races. 75 laps the first race, 50 the second, and 10 the third. Temperature in the 80s now. Very warm down here. Humidity comfortable. Light winds. There's a chance of rain. Doesn't appear that it's going to come over the speedway. It looks like Humpy Wheeler has his good luck once again here at Charlotte with great weather. Jeff Bodine, a wink, a thumbs up. He's ready to go. As we're very, very close to the time to start engines. These are the makes of 20 cars that are in this field, prepared to go, ready to run. Benny Parsons, those drivers have to be feeling a little bit of tension at this moment.
They do. And Sterling and Marlin, let's don't forget about Sterling. Won the Winston Open just a few moments ago, starts 20th, as he did last year. Last year, he finished second, almost won it. We'll check and see if he can do it again this year.
The Winston is a race for winners. In the Speedway Club, well, they're still having lunch. A delightful facility here on the grounds, and you can see the sweep of the grandstand and the corporate hospitality and VIP suites. They have really been making some wonderful additions to Charlotte Motor Speedway in the past several years. It seems like every time you come back to the Speedway, it grows and grows and grows. Well, on the starting line, the crews are talking with Rusty Wallace as a little bit of a hesitation here while they clear off some of the equipment that was used for the preliminary ceremony. And what they have not far away from where the cars sit on the straightaway is a large semi flatbed that was used in those preliminary ceremonies, and it's still sitting there. They can't seem to get it away. Let's go down to Jack Arute now. One of the cars in this race is very interesting, really running only for the second time in Winston Cup racing. Here's Jack.
Paul, we talked about the Chevrolet Monte Carlo the last time we were here for last year's Winston. It was such a great vehicle and went to so many victories. Well, over a period of a year, they decided to come out with a new car. They named the car by way of computer, and the Chevrolet teams are lusting after it. The name of the car is the Lumina. Let's compare it to a Monte Carlo. This is the Monte Carlo. It had a winning run of over 83 victories, but Chevy teams lusted for the Lumina, and here's just a couple of reasons why. Overall, it's smaller than the Monte Carlo, and when you're hurtling through the air at speeds of over 170 miles per hour, the Lumina's got a built-in advantage over its older brother. Further refinements come in the frontal area. The nose and angles of attack have been refined after exhaustive wind tunnel and track testing. Air sweeps over the hood, roof, and trunk areas, increasing downforce, the sticking power of the car. Couple this with the horsepower generated by Chevy's time-proven engine package, and teams are banking upon the Lumina frequenting victory lane on a regular basis.
Well, there's the problem. It's this giant flatbed that they've now changed the tractors on, and they can't seem to get the back wheels unstuck, Manny.
The rear tire, the air brakes are on the brakes are on the rear of the trailer. The rear tires, the brakes are on, and they can't get the truck to roll, the trailer to roll. Now there it goes.
Get a little bit of a roll, but they finally get it done. There they go. The back wheels are rolling. So now, finally, we're pretty close to getting set to go. Boy, that's got to cause some real boiling of the pulses when that happens. There's the starting field. Let's go back to the main straightaway again. Jerry Punch.
Well, Paul, Alan Kulwicki qualified fourth for this event, but yesterday a problem. In the last practice session, you blew the motor you were going to race, Alan, and you guys had to really scamper to put a new engine in. Are you concerned a little bit about this performance of this new motor?
Well, it's not the way you'd prefer to start the race, but this engine may be just as good as the other one, and I have a lot of confidence in the crew that, you know, they've got everything prepared, and we're looking forward to a good run.
Alan Kulwicki starting fourth. Let's go up pit road to Jack Arute for those famous words. Jack?
Well, Jerry, I'm with Sam Hendricks, who's been chosen to give the traditional command today. Mr. Hendricks?
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And so on the main stretch here at Charlotte, the engines 20, Winston Cup stock cars begin to roar in what for some is a pinnacle day in the year, a very important day, certainly financially, a day that you wouldn't want to miss if you could avoid it.
No, and I tell you, I just looked down the entire field and there's no panic going on, which means that 20 cars have started. No problem so far.
So everything's under control. Bobby Unser, the crews have to be thinking about exactly what their tactics are as they're ready to go in the start of this race. 20 drivers, the best that NASCAR has to offer. Let's look at the starting field. On the pole is Terry Labonte, the 1984 NASCAR champion and defending titleist of the Winston, alongside Dale Earnhardt, a three-time NASCAR champion and winner of the '87 Winston. In the second row on the inside, Rusty Wallace, who has won 7 of the last 14 NASCAR races, a streak that began here at Charlotte last October. Alongside Alan Kulwicki, he won the inaugural NASCAR race at Phoenix last year to gain his first start in the Winston. The third row, Jeff Bodine, winner of the 1986 Daytona 500. And alongside is Neil Bonnet, who won back-to-back World 600s here at Charlotte in 1982 and 83. The fourth row on the inside, Darrell Waltrip, a 3-time NASCAR champion and winner of the inaugural Winston in 1985. To the outside is Davey Allison, who won at Talladega 2 weeks ago. This is his third start in the Winston. In the fifth row on the inside is Bill Elliott, who won the Winston in 1986, twice a winner here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. To the outside is Greg Sachs, who won the 1985 Firecracker 400 at Daytona. The sixth row, Bobby Hillin Jr., NASCAR's second youngest race winner. He won the '86 Talladega 500. And on the outside is Lake Speed. He led for 13 laps in last year's Winston. The seventh row on the inside is Ricky Rudd, one of 7 drivers to compete in all 4 previous Winstons. Ken Schrader is to the outside. His only NASCAR victory came last year at Talladega. The eighth row on the inside is Harry Gant. His first super speedway triumph came here at Charlotte in 1982. Phil Parsons is outside. He won last year's Winston 500 at Talladega. The ninth row on the inside is Kyle Petty, the upset winner of the 1987 World 600 here at Charlotte. Morgan Shepherd is to the outside. His first win came at Martinsville in 1981. Richard Petty is on the inside of the 10th row. His first career win came in February of 1960 here in Charlotte at the old fairgrounds. And the outside of the 10th row, added just a few moments ago with his win in the Winston Open, is Sterling Marlin. He came into the Winston in exactly the same way last year, starting 20th, and last year he finished a very close second. You look back from the pace car as Terry Labonte forges his way up. There is Dale Earnhardt on the outside of the front row. You're looking out of a tiny peephole in the back of the pace car as the field works its way through the third turn. Everybody's rolling, all cars reporting that they're in good shape. They're ready to go running. Benny Parsons thinking about what's coming up, looking at the gauges.
I think they're all looking at the gauges. Right now, we're looking from inside Darrell Waltrip's car, the fellow that took us a lap around the speedway just a moment ago. Right now, I think they're thinking about the money.
One of our several onboard cameras, Darrell Waltrip starting the fourth row, a little bit further back on board with Kyle Petty's car as he sees the field 8 rows ahead of him stringing out now. You can see the sweep of the giant grandstands, the condominiums on the outside of the first turn, aerial bombs being fired into the air now as balloons rise into the air. It's a magnificent spectacle as these 20 cars move around this circuit here at Charlotte. There go the balloons, the fans all on their feet. They're excited, ready to go racing. They may not sit down at any time this afternoon.
As I said a moment ago, this race is for the fans. Everything here is designed towards the fans. Yesterday afternoon, these 19 drivers signed autographs till 8 o'clock in Fan Appreciation Day.
You know, there was a lot of apprehension about that method of qualifying that we described earlier, but I got to tell you, sitting up here, it sure worked.
It was very, very exciting. Bill Elliott probably won't agree with today, but it was exciting.
This first race, 75 laps long. 1 pit stop is required with 2 tires to be changed during that pit stop. Then the finishing order of this race will be the lineup for race number 2, but 70 laps is the distance.
Paul, keep in mind they'll also have to put on some gasoline during that. They'll have to have a little bit of fuel. Probably 1 can of fuel during their first pit stop and only pit stop.
The field in the 4th turn now. The front row aligns itself. The rest of the pack closes up just a bit. We watch for the green flag. Terry Labonte, the pole sitter, brings him down. Earnhardt sits back just a bit. The green flag comes out. Rusty Wallace makes a move to the inside. Labonte roars out in front as Wallace and Earnhardt begin a battle going into the first turn. Wallace comes up high, almost leaning on Earnhardt as Labonte continues to lead. Coming off of the second turn now. Lap number 1, the first race of the Winston. Labonte leads down the backstretch. It's a race between Wallace and Earnhardt as they head into turn 3, and Earnhardt pushes ahead into second place.
Well, it certainly looks like Labonte had the horsepower at the start, Paul. They came down nice and slow, nice and even. Now look at Earnhart, though.
Earnhardt comes down in across the grass, a little bump to Labonte, as very early on Earnhardt says, I want to win this thing, I want to take it all home, and Earnhardt goes into the lead. Rusty Wallace comes down on the inside. Alan Kulwicki closes in there as well. They're on the backstretch already. Earnhardt is still out in front as Kulwicki pulls up to battle alongside of Labonte.
Labonte made just a little bit of a slip in right now. He's battling for third spot and losing it. And here comes Bodine trying to take it away on the inside.
Jeff Bodine closes on the inside of Labonte as Earnhardt, followed by Wallace, comes across the stripe, completing lap number 2.
And Darrell Waltrip following Jeff Bodine.
On board now with Darrell Waltrip. That's Bodine just ahead. Working their way around the Speedway. Waltrip running in 5th place, Bodine in 4th. The fight is for 4th place. Waltrip's going to try it down to the inside. He tucks that car a little tighter going into 3.
There we see Darrell working the steering wheel, trying to keep the back end in tow.
The whole front of the field staying together as they come across, completing lap 3 of 75. Waltrip, Bodine battle. Labonte has dropped back now. We go back to the front of the field. Rusty Wallace at the back end of Earnhardt's car.
Rusty Wallace looks to me like Bobby Unser. He wants to lead, don't you think?
Well, Rusty's got to be very quick. He's been very fast for a long time. And as the cars come head on into you, you can look at the difference between the new Chevrolet Luna and the Pontiac.
And the yellow caution comes out. A car spinning way up in the 4th turn.
That's Kyle Petty.
Concern you. Kyle Petty. It looked like Richard also was involved in that situation, so the family Petty bring out the caution. There's Richard.
Doesn't appear to be any damage on Richard's car. I think he just simply spun to avoid. We see some right on the bottom of the front skirt, but
heavy damage to Kyle Petty's car. The whole front end bashed in, and the caution comes out. The crowd cheers as Richard gets underway, but Kyle Petty still sitting in the car. 4 laps complete, and the caution comes out. Now we've got a new rule working in NASCAR today, and that is a yellow flag rule. They close the pits now. There is the flag that says the pits are closed. They will stay closed until the pace car picks up the field, and then they should yank that flag out of the way. They've done it. Now, if they care to pit, they can come in. It's a test here today. If it works, then it will become a regular practice in Winston Cup racing.
Paul, it's too early for most of them to pit. Now there's Bodine coming in. He obviously has some sort of an adjustment to make. But usually they're not going to pit this early because they really need fuel a little bit later on, not quite this early.
Jeff Bodine was running in 4th, rolled out. They work on Kyle Petty's car. Benny, here's the situation.
We see Kyle Petty. He's already sideways and already made hit the outside retaining wall, so we really can't see what happened to start the crash. Ugh, terrible looking crash. Front of the car heavily damaged. I was talking. There we see the crew trying to get Kyle out of the car.
All right, so as the rescue crews work with Kyle Petty, the race is under caution. 4 laps are complete, and we'll be back with more of the Winston after this. We're under the caution with 6 laps of the first 75-lap race complete. And you can see the rescuers are still at the car of Kyle Petty, involved in an accident on the 4th turn. They've called for splints and neck braces for Kyle. They're taking their time. They don't want to rush anything here. Want to take him out of the car nice and slow. Now the situation that created this situation, here you are on board with Kyle.
This is going down the front straightaway. We've just passed the start-finish line. We're a half lap away from the problem. He's following Morgan Shepherd's through 1 and 2. Car looks fine. No problem. Handling very well on the bottom of the racetrack. He moves back up.
Running down the backstretch.
Going down the back straightaway, going in turn 3. And then all of a sudden, it's like he got tapped, and he corrects the car, and the camera goes away with that heavy blow.
You can see the car hit so hard that the camera damaged as well.
When you see it come back to the right and just head towards the wall, that's about the worst kind of hit that you can have, Paul. And that's what you can see on the car. The left front corner just moved right back in, so obviously some of it got back into the cockpit.
Part of the continuing bad luck for Kyle Petty, a crash in the Daytona 125-mile qualifier, didn't qualify for the Richmond 400, crashed at Darlington, crashed at Talladega, back on board once again. We'll slow this one down just a little bit.
Now we're going into turn 3. Now you watch, the car will pivot one way, a little bit to the right now. He'll correct, and it'll swing back to left. That's the worst kind of spin you can ever do, almost straight into the wall. Worst way that you could possibly hit it, Benny.
And that's something that you young drivers, when you go to a big racetrack for the first time, you cannot correct these cars on a high bank racetrack. When you get out of shape, they're going to go back to the right and hit the outside retaining wall.
Richard Petty also involved. He spun but is back under power. Let's go to his pits now. Jerry Punch.
Well, Paul, take a look at the damage of the Petty Pontiac. This is the front air dam, or what's left of the front air dam that came off Richard Petty's car. Now, this is just part of it that was peeled away when he tagged Kyle, his young son, up there in turns 3 and 4. Richard will have a significant aerodynamic problem driving the Pontiac. And another driver here in the pits, pitting right beside Richard, we just told a minute ago that has a problem, is our leader, Dale Earnhardt. We are told he has a flat right front tire, and he, running over some debris up there, probably some of this air dam off the Petty car, has cut a right front tire, so he will be making an unscheduled stop as well. Paul?
Well, they've got a long yellow underway here now, still working with the Petty car. There is Dale Earnhardt, just as Jerry Punch suggested, he peels off and heads down now toward Richard Childress, the crew. See what assistance they can be. It should be just as simple as a new tire.
Well, that's exactly all he needs is a right front tire. There we see Kyle Petty being taken from the car.
Very, very careful with him. There's no hurry. It's not like the old days where they used to run up to a car and just snatch somebody out of there. Now, with all the modern medicine and emergency care, they want to be plenty careful to get them out, plenty of time, nice and easy. Don't want to cause any more damage than the accident may have already caused. A lot of
Safety's
concern
come a long
here for
way in
Kyle.
automobile racing, Paul. It's a lot better than it used to be. You can just tell by all the attention he gets and how careful. They have doctors on duty all the time, right with the drivers.
So Kyle Petty now out of the car. As they take a moment with him, let's look at this accident one more time, Benny Parsons.
There we see both the Pettys, Richard and Kyle, sideways. Kyle has already collected the wall. What caused the problem to begin with, we have no idea. We see the windshield just on the left of the screen bouncing along.
And Richard was right behind Kyle when it started and got involved in it. Looked like the back end just came unstuck on Kyle Petty's car. And when he tried to correct it, it took him right up into the wall. So under the caution with 8 laps complete, here's your top 5. We'll be back right after this. We are under caution, 9 laps complete. Reason for the caution, an accident involving Kyle and Richard Petty. Though Richard Petty is back under power, Kyle had to be removed by stretcher to an ambulance from his race car. He's now back in the medical center as the ambulance backs in. Let's go for an update on this situation to Jerry Punch.
Well, Paul, the bad news is, taking a look at the hood beside me here, this is the car that Kyle Petty destroyed on Monday here in practice. It was their Speedway car. The car he just wrecked a minute ago is the only car they had left. And so both of the cars they have in the Sabatis Racing stable have been destroyed. The good news is that Kyle Petty, was talking to his crew a minute ago on the two-way radio while they were getting him out of the car, said, hey, I got a little pain in my back, some pain in my right shoulder, but I'm okay. I'm awake and alert, and I'm sorry about the race car, guys. They said, don't worry about it, Kyle. We can build more cars. You just be okay and come back to the garage. Paul?
Well, good report. The problem, though, is the car, Benny Parsons.
That is exactly right. As Jerry Punch mentioned, the only car they have. What they're going to run next week in the Coca-Cola 600, your guess is as good as mine.
Pace car. Now, as we take a look at the rundown, moving on to the backstretch, indications are that we will go green at the conclusion of this lap and resume the first race of the 3-race series that is the Winston. All 3 run in an afternoon, 75 laps. They must pit, must change 2 tires during the 75-lap run. Then a 10-minute break, then back for 50 laps, then a 10-minute break, and then back for 10 laps on board with Darrell Waltrip.
Right now, Paul, we're looking at Pontiac and Ford. It's going to be interesting to see how this works. Rusty Wallace is really working good. Another thing that we got to remember is Dale Earnhardt is back in the pack a little ways because of that flat tire that he had.
It'll be Rusty Wallace, then Kulwicki, then Earnhardt, then Waltrip, then Labonte. As they come back to the line, Davey Allison has been able to move up into 5th place as well as we come back to green. And Waltrip immediately starts to work at the back end of Kulwicki's car.
Well, Rusty Wallace jumps right out in the front. He's really a hot number these days. If he has his way, he's going to lead every lap, staying clean air with the exception of possibly Lambert's cars today.
If there's been major stories this year in Winston Cup racing, and there has, those 3 cars in front, that's the story. Rusty Wallace, Alan Kulwicki, and Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip and Rusty Wallace won 3 races apiece. Alan Kulwicki hasn't won a race, but he's right there knocking on the door each and every race.
And Darrell Waltrip's really been on a comeback this year, hasn't he been?
He is determined this year, 1989, to be the year that Darrell Waltrip shows everyone he is a great race car driver and could come back and win.
First 3 positions, there is Earnhardt, who had to move to the back of the field to come up through the field. He was back on 19th position when they came to the restart. He's already up to 14th and cutting his way through as he comes alongside Jeff Bodine.
Just moved alongside Jeff Bodine easily. Earnhardt looks awfully strong today.
Well, that tire that was a problem for Earnhardt took him off of the lead and put him well back in the field, now replaced. It obviously was the tire because the car is really running well now. To the backstretch, Wallace, Kulwicki, Waltrip. 13 laps complete, 75 the scheduled distance. The battle is for second. Kulwicki has played a very, very smart race, and his crew really helped him out, and is now running in 2nd place.
The smart drivers right now, this early in the race, are going to be taking care of their tires, Paul, because remember, this race is when they're going to kind of have to position themselves for this next 50-lapper coming up. It's going to be really important who starts up in front.
Rusty Wallace getting around this track at 168.2 miles an hour on the last lap. 2nd and 3rd right in there and follow.
That's strong speed, very strong speed under green flag conditions after 10-15 laps of the race.
Doesn't seem like the accident in turn 4 caused any problems with the track surface, so turn 4 can be a problem area here. Back at the front of the field, Wallace now with Kulwicki closing. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd running together now. Wallace begins again to pull away. Here's the fight for 4th place. Labonte, Allison, Elliott running together on the backstretch.
Well, there's some good drivers right there, Vinny.
There's some very good race car drivers. Bill Elliott, in-car camera, pulls up right behind Davey Allison. Looks to the outside. Follows Davey down the front straightaway. Looks on the inside. Maybe he's going to make his move. No, has to fall back in behind.
You can already see how much dirt and debris are on the windshield. Now, this is only after approximately 15, 16 laps of the race.
You see a crack in Bill Elliott's windshield running up to the right side of our screen. He's on the outside of Allison. Davey on the inside of Labonte.
The fight is for 4th place as Davey moves into 4th. Now Labonte comes right back. Labonte closes in. Elliott closes in. The fight continues, coming down to the start-finish line.
Now that's as close as you can get, Paul. You can't get much closer than that without touching.
I'm telling you that. I think they might have touched up in the 4th corner. Bill Elliott now once again pulls in right behind Terry Labonte. Tries to get inside as he come off the 2nd corner.
On the backstretch, Greg Sachs is right in there as well. As Elliott comes to the inside of Labonte, Sachs tries to follow through, but Labonte pulls right down and takes a position. Elliott runs now in 5th place.
Now,
back at the front of the field.
5th place is not bad right now, Paul. We're still fairly early in the race. There's the race right there now.
Greg Sachs moves to the inside. Just behind him, Ken Schrader.
And Ricky Rudd in the green 26. That's Rudd on the outside of Schrader trying to take that spot away.
Kenny Schrader, probably one of the most versatile race drivers that we have here in the Winston race. Don't you agree with that, Benny?
Yes, because he runs champ dirt cars, midget cars, modified cars. If it's got a steering wheel and 4 wheels, Schrader will drive it.
And some people think he's too big to get the midget, but by golly, he does a good job.
And wins in those other races as well. Here, he's going to try on the inside of Labonte.
Schrader, the center of attention as he tries to take 6th place away from Terry Labonte. Greg Sachs lies just ahead. Ricky Rudd just behind. The battle is between Labonte and Schrader. On the backstretch, can Schrader hold in here? They head into 3, and Schrader pushes his way ahead.
Labonte, our pole winner, drifting back, having some serious problems early on in this race. Now we go back to the lead. Rusty Wallace still leading. Alan Kowicki second place. But Kowicki, Paul, has closed up.
20 laps are complete. Kowicki sitting just behind Wallace. Is this a situation where a very cagey Kowicki is just watching what Wallace is doing?
Oh, yeah, like Bobby has said, I don't think right now is the time to go up and take any kind of chances. Now's the time to watch, feel how your car's doing, how your competitor's doing, getting yourself in position, Bobby, for that next race.
Absolutely right, Benny. And another thing, Kowicki's going to like Rusty when they do start lapping cars, kind of moving them out of the way and making it easier for him to come by. Give him a little bit less chance of having any accidents or traffic problems.
Waltrip is in there as well as we take a look at the top 5 with 21 laps complete. Wallace, Kowicki, Waltrip, Davey Allison, Bill Elliott. Good battle all up and down through the top 10. As Waltrip closes in, and there is Earnhardt as he comes past Labonte and picks up 8th place. So from 19th to 8th since the caution, Earnhardt wants to get back up front and fight.
Now remember, that's that new Lumina Chevrolet, and this is the second race on it. They haven't had all that much luck with it the first time, but it's obviously getting a little bit better because Earnhardt is on the move.
Well, the question about these cars was whether or not they had enough test time on them, enough race time, only one race before this. Earnhardt is certainly proving that he knows how his car is working as he moves his way up through the field.
Here we see Waltrip has looked inside Kowicki going in turn 3. Now again trying desperately to get by Kowicki. He pulls alongside.
That's what you call splitting the hairs kind of close. It looks like he might have got underneath. He did. He got by. Waltrip now in 2nd place. Now that's some dicing. That pass could be just a little bit knowledge to be used in the next race.
Exactly right, because Darrell Waltrip would not try to do that unless he felt like he was going to help him somewhere along the line.
Unless that's just the new Darrell Waltrip we see. It's like when he was a kid, Benny. He's just going to go for broke all the way.
You know something, Bobby? You might be right. This might be the new Darrell Waltrip stepping forward.
The 2nd place car, number 17, Darrell Waltrip. Alan Kowicki just behind him, riding in 3rd. We talked at the start of the show about the tactics of this race, but it is very, very important to get up and be in the front because that gives you a better starting position in the next race.
Oh, exactly right. Terry Labonte, our pole winner, as we mentioned a moment ago, he's drifting back, Paul. He's getting himself in trouble for the next race.
But at least he's got time enough and some long pit stops, like 10 minutes in between the races, Benny, to readjust the car, get it back in, be competitive.
And Jack Arute, you have a comment.
Well, Paul, you know, this is the only race on the Winston Cup Tour where there's a preliminary event. And that, of course, was the Winston Invitational. And a lot of these teams checked on tires and how the cars handle, checked with some of their compatriots. And the front 3 cars is kind of interesting. 2 of them made adjustments. Darrell Waltrip and the other car, of course, being the number 7 of Alan Kowicki, they decided to tighten their cars up after the Winston Open. Your leader, however, he checked on tires, checked with Rick Wilson specifically, and they determined to keep their car in the same setup that they ran yesterday. The big difference today is about 20 degrees in temperature. So his car is working very well, that of Rusty Wallace, but so is Waltrip's and of course, Kowicki. So it's a toss-up as far as setup right now.
And there we see Greg Sachs. This is a race for 5th. He passes Bill Elliott, takes that spot away, and here comes Schrader on the inside. He takes the spot away, moves Bill Elliott back to 7th spot.
On board with Bill Elliott. This kind of fighting at 27 laps into the race gives you an idea of how very important these guys think it is to get up into the front.
They can't give up any ground, Paul. They have to go for it. They're just running a little bit harder this early in the first race. There goes Schrader.
The fight is for 5th place. That's Greg Sachs just ahead. Kenny Schrader tries him on the inside.
They're running a little bit harder earlier in the race, the first race, than we figured.
Wow, that was close racing. Schrader almost got in the side of Sachs as they came off the corner.
Sachs forced way high. as Elliott sitting just behind Sachs, and here comes Earnhardt. Earnhardt closes in on this fight.
Now there's a good example. Two cars teaming up, nose to tail, can just almost beat Schrader, who's really in the groove right now, and Schrader's handling good. But you notice as soon as Elliott hooks up with Sachs, they just seem to have a little bit of straightaway speed on him there.
5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Remember, Earnhardt came out of the caution in 19th. Earnhardt brings her down low. Elliott goes way up high, and Earnhardt picks up yet another position. Now sets his target on Sachs.
He just drove by Bill Elliott. Boy, is Earnhardt doing a great job on the bottom of the racetrack up in 3 and 4.
We have to say the Chevrolet Lumina is definitely handling better than it was before. Benny, don't you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. I felt like that the Lumina, they might have some problems here today. I haven't seen any so far.
At least no question about it on Dale Earnhardt's car is on the backstretch now. We take a look at the top 5, and Earnhardt sets himself up behind Greg Sachs. Sachs goes up high. The battle is for 6th. Earnhardt comes to the low side, decides to drop in behind Sachs. Now he comes down, almost uses a little bit of that dirt that he loves here.
Well, I think the thing about the number 3 car that Lumina Chevrolet of Earnhardt's is it's working on the bottom. That's the easiest place to pass. As we were talking earlier, as the tires get hot, if the track gets slippery, the cars go to the top. When you see Earnhardt sticking at the bottom, the guys like Rusty Wallace up in front better start worrying.
Rusty Wallace still leads it. The battle we're watching is that for 6th place between Greg Sachs and Dale Earnhardt. Out in front, it is still Rusty Wallace. Waldrop closes in just a bit. Rusty Wallace on the backstretch, runs in front of this field. You know, there have been some rumors about Rusty Wallace moving to another team, so we ask him what his plans really are.
The rumors, they started really going wild. The latest one was I was going to drive, Richard Petty was going to retire, and I was going to drive for him. I'm going to drive for Junior Johnson. I tell you, the press had me driving for everybody, and there's just no truth to it. And yesterday in Charlotte, I called a press conference and tried to put it all to rest, because it's not disruptive to our team yet, but it does have the high potential to do that. And I don't want to let it get out of control before something like that happens. 2 big races at Charlotte, 3 big races at Charlotte, and the whole Winston Cup year is yet to go. And I can't believe the rumors are starting this high. It's early. It's just been a lot of sports writers start dreaming their own stuff up because they couldn't find anything for fact. They just thought it was going to happen. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not going to happen. I'm real happy where I am. Myself, Barry Dotson, Harold Elliott, Jimmy Makar, the whole Blue Max crew, we plan on staying together as a team.
Well, you know, it seems to me that the bigger the race, the more the rumors fly, which may tell you the Winston's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal, and that's one thing I think that people are trying to do is disrupt that team just a little bit, because Rusty Wallace this year, Paul and Bobby, I've been following the Winston Cup Series closely this year. That car 27 has been almost unbeatable.
That's right, Benny, and he's also on a hot streak. You know, there's some times when you take a car owner in the team, the sponsor, and everybody works together. And that's what really makes a successful team out of it.
That's exactly right. Labonte, our pole sitter, we just can't even find him. There's 4th, 5th, 6th.
Labonte's fallen all the way back to 11th place. There he is right now. And that's Sterling Marlin just behind him. So Labonte, who had such a great day yesterday, is now falling back through the field. We can get an update from Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, the weather has changed drastically today from what they had yesterday and Friday for practice and qualifying. It's considerably warmer, so a lot of crews had to guess just before this race to change the setup. As you heard Jack Arute mention a little bit ago, a number of teams made the cars a little bit tighter. Well, Junior Johnson's team made the car significantly tighter, and that's the problem with Terry Labonte. The car is so tight, he just can't get up any speed and can't run through the corners. They will make that adjustment during that first intermission, but right now, he has to grin and bear it. Paul?
Labonte runs in 11th. That's Marlin just behind him. Ricky Rudd back in 12th.
Now, to the folks that don't understand what tight means that the front end is pushing and just not turning in the turns, and that slows them down a little bit.
Here's how the Winston pole winners have fared in the run of this race as we watch the action in the upper right-hand corner. As Earnhardt makes his move around Allison and picks up 5th place, so he continues to cut his way through the field.
That's pretty impressive. Started 19th, he's now 5th in just about 30 laps. Pretty impressive.
But when you consider that graphic, the pole winners aren't the favorites here.
You doggone right they aren't.
He's using up a lot of tires, don't you think, Benny? And he's really running that car hard because he had to come all the way from the back end. And here he is, almost up near the lead now.
Well, see, I don't think he would do that in the 600-mile race, but he's going to stop. They're going to stop at the end of 75 laps, and they're going to be able to change 4 tires.
Dale Earnhardt, Rookie of the Year in 1979, and then turned around 1 year later to come back as the Winston Cup champion. It's the kind of style that brought him to the championship. One tough customer on a race course. And currently running in 5th place, it's still Rusty Wallace out in front of the field, followed by Waltrip and Kulwicki. Across the stripe, 39 laps of 75 are complete. There's the 27 car, the Pontiac of Rusty Wallace. He's out in front of the field, followed by Waltrip, Kulwicki, Schrader, and then Dale Earnhardt. We'll be back with more of the Winston in a moment. We're back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the first race of the 3-race series that is the Winston, all to be run in one afternoon. 43 laps are complete. We take a look at the top 5. Wallace, Waltrip, Kulwicki, Schrader, Dale Earnhardt. Take a look down through the rest of the top 10. Allison, Greg Sachs, Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, and Sterling Marlin. Marlin, remember, started in 20th place, so he's got a pretty good run going as well. Rusty Wallace out in front of this field. Carr really doing a nice job. The fight is here for 2nd place. That's Darrell Waltrip and Alan Kulwicki.
They've really been having a fight for a long time. Just a real good, tight battle right there. Rusty Wallace has been really handling good, Paul. He's not only running good, but he seems to stick at the bottom of the racetrack awfully good.
There we see Richard Petty in jeopardy of going a lap down, but we know that Richard's car is not handling very well because of that early accident with his son, Kyle.
Front spoiler all banged up and damaged. His aerodynamics really compromised. Take a look at the left front of that car. You see all that bodywork missing. That really makes a world of difference.
And in NASCAR racing and stock car racing, the left front does an awful lot of work because they offset the weight into the car. So when he loses the spoiler on the left front like that, it's really hurting the car. That's not letting it turn, or it's making the front end push.
One or the other. As we watch Richard Petty going down in turn 1, just in front of her leader.
Richard Petty, the leader just behind him. And Rusty Wallace, by the way, running about a 1.25 seconds ahead of this battle for 2nd place. 29 laps to go, 46 are complete. The scheduled distance to the stops, Benny Parsons, should be about 60 laps.
Someplace between 55 and 60. These cars will run as long as they possibly can because they're handling very well. Some of the cars in the back want to get in and make that tire change, so they might even stop at 50 laps.
Notice Kulwicki is running off to the left up there a little bit now. He's trying to do 2 things. He's trying to get some air in, cool his radiator. I think, Benny, don't you agree that he might be trying to pull Darrell down so he can make his front end push a little bit, maybe burn his right front tire off?
I don't know that he is. I think that Alan just is trying to run on the bottom of the racetrack the shortest way, as you mentioned a moment ago, just the shortest way around the racetrack. You see how low that Kulwicki, well, now he's drifted up a little bit there, but he's still lower than anyone else through the 3rd, 4th corner.
But Kulwicki closes in a little bit on Earnhardt. Rusty Wallace still out in front. The fight on the course is for 2nd place.
And this is what Alan Kulwicki has been doing all year, is he runs very well. The longer that the race goes, the better Alan Kulwicki goes.
Let's go down to the pits now, get an update on the situation with Kyle Petty. Here's Jerry Punch.
I'm standing with Felix Sabates, Kyle Petty's car owner. And Felix, you just came out of the infield care center. What's the status on Kyle?
Well, we're taking him to the hospital for precautionary measurement. Everything seemed to be working all right. He was complaining about a lot of pain in his back going to the top of his head. But Dr. Petty said he thinks he's okay. He got to University Hospital for x-rays.
Well, apparently going to do cervical spine films and x-ray, also the right shoulder, but hopefully it's just bruised and nothing broken, and Kyle can come back to race. Paul?
We certainly hope the best for Kyle Petty. The leader, the 27 car, Rusty Wallace. He's competed in 2 different Winstons prior to this. He was 5th in '87 and finished 13th last year, but now in the first of the 3 races, he is now running out in front. Kenny Schrader has made a pit stop, completed it in 12.3 seconds, and is back into the action. So what you suggested earlier, Bobby and Benny, some of the guys running a little bit back, stopping a little bit earlier.
Well, he might have needed a chassis adjustment. They can make a little adjustment when he's into the pits. And he might have just gambled that there won't be a yellow between now and the 55 to 60 laps that they should stop. He decided to make his change right there.
Well, he better hope that they won't, because he did go a lap down in making that pit stop. And if the caution flag should come out right now, Ken Schrader would be a lap down.
For sure. And 2/3 of this first race now complete. Again, the format is a 75-lap race. We're in that now, 2/3 of the way done. They have to make a pit stop for 2 tires at some time during this race. And another rule special to the Winston, should there be a yellow flag in the last 10 laps of any one of these races, then the laps under yellow will not count into the total. They go from this race on to a 50 lap after a 10-minute break, and then after a second 10-minute break on to a 10-lap dash. And at the end of that run, $200,000 to the winner. Greg Sachs, the 88 car. Davey Allison is in 5th place as Sachs and Bodine begin to pursue Allison.
Good race for 5th spot. Greg Sachs, the graphic tells you, 6th spot. Jeff Bodine 7th, right behind.
Now Bodine's in another one of those Chevy Luminas. Benny, he doesn't seem to be handling quite as good as, for example, Earnhardt in a very light car.
I think, you know, I noticed that just a moment ago and started to say something, but to tell one of our guys down in the pits that Bodine is not handling that well, and he's the only car other than Earnhardt that made a pit stop on that early caution flag. He went in the pits. He wasn't happy with the first lap, and evidently still not very happy.
And Benny, we watched yesterday. It looked like Bodine was the best of the cars that we watched on the entire racetrack.
Exactly right.
And we get a little puff of tire smoke coming off the back of Allison's car as he heads into one. That's the second lap we've seen that. As we watch Allison on the back stretch, heading into turn 3, here is Rusty Wallace, the leader of the race, coming in. Darrell Waltrip comes in as well, and Alan Kulwicki comes in. So the top 3 cars head for the pits. Now only 17 and 27. Only Wallace and Waltrip make it into the pits.
11 seconds. Wow. 11 seconds. Wow, what a pit stop by Rusty Wallace.
Now it's going to be interesting to see if they got all the lug nuts on that one, like some of the cars missed yesterday, but I'm sure they did.
So Rusty Wallace comes back out of the pits. There's Earnhardt, and Alan Kulwicki comes in as well as Earnhardt now. So here at 54 laps complete, everybody decides it's time in.
Earnhardt has already stopped and changed some tires, but he comes in. All the cars on pit road. We see Earnhardt's car, the jack's going up. Davey Smith runs around, gives Kurt Schoenwein the right front tire. He gets the wrench. Jack down and Earnhardt gets away.
Now what they were doing right there, cleaning off his radiator from the hot dog wrappings, things like that, to get on the racetrack. Sometimes they get caught on the radiator and they'll burn the engine right down.
Earnhardt's pit stop just a shade under 12 seconds. A good stop for Richard Childress's crew.
I'll tell you what, we're seeing some great times on the stops for this. Fans here have seen a lot of great pit action this weekend, and Lake Speed, the 83 car, picks up the lead. He has not yet pitted. The Lake Speed, by staying out, takes the lead of the first race in the Winston. The leaders have now made their stops, and it should be a sprint to the finish. We'll be back with more of the first race of the Winston after this. Rusty Wallace, the leader of this first race. Waltrip runs in second, and Schrader runs back in 3rd place.
He ain't chasing no more, Paul. He caught him.
He's right on top of him, sitting right behind. Here's the top 5 right now as they come into the closing laps. This is a critical position. Critical because they will line up in the next race after a 10-minute break in the order of the finish of this race. So everybody now wants to begin to surge toward the front. Get a little extra racing room, an extra position if you can.
Watch Darrell Waltrip's foot when we have the in-car cam on again. People can see when he gets on the gas, like right here, when he backs off going into turns and when he's doing partial throttle. I think it's kind of interesting to see that.
There's Darrell Waltrip in 2nd place. Very cagey race driver as he is setting himself up to take a run on Rusty Wallace. Look at him, he brings that wheel over in the corner.
Another thing to take note, they don't use brakes here, only to come into the pits. They never touch the brakes going around the racetrack. Now he's really on Rusty's tail. He's got all the draft he can use here at Charlotte. It's really going to be working, and there's only about 4 laps remaining.
That's why carrying momentum is so critical on an oval. You just have to carry your speed just as far and fast as you can. You're really actually slowing down only by the action of turning into the corner.
Exactly right.
You can also notice Rusty Wallace goes down a little bit more. You notice that, Benny? As soon as Darrell got up right to him, he just used a little bit more of the racetrack to the left.
Onto the backstretch. Waltrip moves in behind Wallace. Sets himself into position. Heading for turn 3. Onto the high bank.
Better hurry, DW. There's only 2 1/4 laps to go.
On board with Darrell Waltrip now. As they head for the stripe one more time. When they come around, they'll see the starter tell them it's 2 laps to go. Down into turn 1. The continuing fight for the lead. Wallace has it at the moment. A slower car just in front of him. That could be a factor as they head toward turn 3 now.
Just like Bobby Unser talked about a moment ago, those cars in front of our leaders do not want to go a lap down, so they're not going to move over as they customarily would do to let these guys go by. So traffic might be a problem.
They really can't afford to move over, Benny, because they go down a lap and carry that into the next race. So they've really got to go for it. In fact, this is probably one of the hardest times that they're going to have, period.
White flag is out. 1 lap to go, 1/2 lap to go now.
Off of the second turn, onto the backstretch. Waltrip closes in just a bit on Rusty Wallace.
Harry Gant is going to go a lap down.
They get around Gant. They put him a lap behind the lead of the race as we come for the start-finish line. And for the checkered flag. And Rusty Wallace leads Waltrip across the line. So Wallace will start on the pole. Waltrip alongside in race number 2. Waltrip couldn't get it done.
Not another half a lap, and Hillen would have gone down the lap.
That's
so
exactly.
He came out really lucky on that one.
We see Darrell talking to his crew already. He was talking to his crew, telling them what they're going to do in this next 10 or 15 minutes that they've got to get the car where they can beat that 27 car.
Any adjustments that need to be done are going to be done in 10 minutes.
So Rusty Wallace wins race number 1 this afternoon, the 75 lapper. It's the 50 lapper that comes up next. A look from the Speedway Club where they've seen a whale of a first race. We'll be back with more coverage of the Winston after this message and a word from our ABC station. Expect then some action a little bit later in the afternoon from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now this is the way they line up for this race number 2. It's a 50 lapper. They are on the back straightaway, and the pace car should begin to accelerate away as they're lined up single file now. That's most notable. Sterling Marlin has moved from 20th to 8th place. He started the last race in 20th. He's now in 8th. But you find them just the way you left them at the end of the last race. A 10-minute interval. They've all worked on the cars, made some adjustments, and now with Rusty Wallace out in front, followed by Waltrip, Schrader, Earnhardt, and Kulwicki, they're ready to come down to the line. Those are the top 5 drivers as Wallace slows it down just a bit, coming off of 4. Now begins to pick up the pace. The green light winks on, the flag flies, and Wallace begins to lead. Waltrip, Schrader, Kulwicki, and Earnhardt begin to battle for 4th place as they head off into the first turn.
Rusty Wallace again right down to the white line through turn 1 and turn 2, and a little bit of that was protection to keep Waltrip from being able to get under him, Paul.
Waltrip glued right to the back end of Wallace's car in a fight for the lead. Schrader runs alone, running in 3rd, and Earnhardt now occupies 4th place, but just behind Earnhardt is Kulwicki and Elliott.
Bill Elliott's showing a little bit of strength right now that he hasn't shown us earlier on today.
That's right, Penny. And Earnhardt also, remember, now he did change the sway bar on his car, so it may take him a lap or 2 to feel whether that Chevrolet is going to respond to it or not. So we'll see whether that helped or not.
Both of you were watching all of the crews as they were working during the 10-minute interval. Didn't seem to anybody really frantic about their car.
There was no panic going on. There really was no panic going on. These guys just massaging the cars around.
On board, 2nd place car, the leader, Rusty Wallace, just ahead.
They race these NASCAR cars about 35 times a year, these same cars. The guys are really used to the changes they're going to do. When the driver says there's a problem, like if there's a push to it, the mechanics and the driver basically know what to change on them, Bob.
That's a good point. They do know because they race so much, and not only do they race 35 times a year, they probably test 30 or 40 more days a year. So these fellows are in these race cars 75, 80 days a year.
Benny, aren't you glad you're up here in the television booth, not on the racetrack today?
Yeah, that's right. I only got to work 1 day a week.
I'll tell you what, I haven't seen anybody as excited in a broadcast booth as Benny Parsons, as there is Waltrip still trying to move on Rusty Wallace. Waltrip trying up to the high side.
Now that's something different. He's not only trying it, he's going right on by Wallace.
On the backstretch, Waltrip takes the lead.
Wow, on the outside.
That's the pass of the day, Benny.
That is the pass of the day. Darrell Waltrip, great move on the outside of Rusty Wallace. I don't think Rusty expected that.
Now remember what we said earlier. The first lap would be bailing them out. The second race, the 50 lapper right now, is going to be go for broke, getting ready for that last 10 lapper.
Well, if there was a question about the lumen, it ought to be over now. Let's get an update comment from Jack Arute.
Paul, one luminaire that has his share of problems in the engine department is your third-place machine, Kenny Schrader. You see, Schrader has a serious problem with the oil pump. The shaft is trying to work its way out. They discovered it during that 10-minute intermission, and they've said it's like riding with a time bomb right now. I asked Richard Groom if he thought that Schrader could go the distance. He says, I doubt it, but we'll roll the dice and see how far we can go.
That's a brave group, because if that shaft works its way out, you're going to suddenly see zero oil pressure, and a few seconds after that, the engine's going to go all over the place. The battle for fourth place, Earnhardt, Kulwicki.
And just a moment ago, a half a lap ago, the order was reversed. Kulwicki was in front of Earnhardt. Earnhardt passed him down the front straightaway. Made a great move going in turn one on Alan Kulwicki.
Elliott, now running in sixth place, continues to stay in contact with the front of the field, playing a pretty cagey race.
Well, Earnhardt still isn't moving as good as he seemed to be moving in the early part of the last race, Benny. He's past Kulwicki for sure, but he's falling back just a little bit.
So this is fourth, fifth, and sixth. Earnhardt, Kulwicki, and then Elliott. The front of the field, it is Waltrip. He picked up the lead from Wallace. Wallace won the first race, picked up $20,000 in doing so. There's $20,000 on the line in the second race of this afternoon's running of the Winston. Earnhardt runs in fourth. Kulwicki backed in right behind.
Yes, and look at Earnhardt work the high groove. Kulwicki back down the bottom just like he was earlier. The only difference is Dale doesn't seem to be pulling away right now. The three of those cars are really in a tight, close, good draft.
Tell you what, he's ashamed this isn't for the lead, because this is the best race on the racetrack now.
Some of the drivers are feeling them out, just like you see Allen working on Dale right there, working the low groove. Pretty soon he's going to be trying for a pass because he can't wait too long.
Looked like he looked on the inside of Earnhardt that time, but not able to get enough momentum off the corner to pull alongside.
We continue to watch the battle for fourth place. The fight is between Earnhardt and Kulwicki as Earnhardt again moves up to the high side. Now Kulwicki closes in. He's going to go for a try as they come down across the start-finish line. Kulwicki moves to the inside, forces Earnhardt up to the high side. Can Kulwicki hold him there? Earnhardt stays right on his line. Now Earnhardt pushes a little high, and the high side works for Earnhardt as he stays in place.
Now that high side worked for Waltrip and for Earnhardt, because Earnhardt was passed, and he came right back around Kulwicki again. So maybe some of the other drivers are going to start trying that high side. There's Allen getting up there a little bit higher right now himself.
What happens is when Kulwicki goes in the corner on this is looking out Bill Elliott's car, the windshield of Bill Elliott's car, looking out Kulwicki's car. But what happens is when Kulwicki goes in the corner and Earnhardt's alongside, he doesn't have that big quarter panel to lean that into. The air that normally he would lean into isn't there. Earnhardt's taking it away, makes the car very loose.
And another thing, the car that's leading, even though you're going along downside a car, you're still operating in the slipstream. You're still operating in the draft, Benny. So even though a car is on the side, you still got a big cone shape at about a 45-degree of good, quiet air to go through.
Exactly.
On board the sixth place car, the Ford of Bill Elliott. That's Kulwicki line just ahead, and just ahead of him is that black number 3 of Earnhardt. As they're the best fight on the circuit, it is still Waltrip out in front, and Rusty Wallace running in second place.
Looks like Elliott just doesn't have it quite hooked up today like we expected him before the race.
Back at the front of the field, Waltrip leads this race. Jack Arute
Well, Paul Page, you were alluding to the fact that it looked as if Darrell Waltrip was shot out of a cannon on the outside of the corners there. Well, what they've done is they've adjusted the car, loosened it up a bit, because that's precisely what Darrell was complaining about during the first race. He said the car runs good down the straightaway, but it's a tad too tight, and it feels like it wants to bog down when it comes out of the corner. So they've loosened it up, and it seems to be working well.
Waltrip runs in front. And there is Kulwicki and Earnhardt. They continue to fight their way. Kulwicki now going to pull down to the inside. A second ago, he was almost up alongside Earnhardt. Had to drop back. And now he's been forced back a little further. But Elliott begins to close in now on Kulwicki.
Well, it was getting close right there now that Elliott's coming to life here. He realizes he's going to have to get going in this race. Otherwise, no chance for that 10-lapper.
Boy, this is some great racing to the backstretch now. Earnhardt rides in fourth. Kulwicki, then Elliott. The battle continues.
Earnhardt is without a doubt one of the hardest guys in the world to pass. He just will not give anything. It's all, he will not give you anything. And Bobby, you've raced with guys like that before. It makes it awfully hard.
Benny, it seems like with Earnhardt, he just wants to make an issue out of everything on that racetrack. You can't do anything but be proud of the man for doing it. He's the stubbornest driver I've ever seen.
I'm going to tell him you said that.
You talk about a winning attitude. Nice thing about this race is everybody here is, in fact, a winner. As we look at Wallace now being challenged by Ken Schrader, that's the battle for second place. Each one of these guys has their mind set on winning. They know how to win. They know how to plan their race just right. And they've got that winning attitude, which is always so important in any sport. So Wallace, now running in second place, is trying to hold off a charging Ken Schrader, and Waltrip is our leader. We're in race number 2 of the Winston, and we'll be back.
In this race, compared to next Sunday's race, your crew bolts you in the car, helps you get in, and they pat you on the back and say, don't bring me back nothing but the steering wheel.
Darrell Waltrip, the current leader. Next Sunday's race is the World 600 here from Charlotte, but at the moment, it's the Winston, an entirely different event than any other race these NASCAR champions drive throughout the year. 3 different races on the same Sunday afternoon. At the end of the run, $200,000 to the winner. They started after a very special qualifying, which included 3 laps against the clock and a pit stop. And at the end of the first race, it was Wallace out in front. But then they lined up in the order of finish of the first race, put Wallace out in front for a bit, but then Waltrip forged his way past into first place. Wallace now runs second, Schrader third, and we're looking at the battle for fourth. It continues between Earnhardt and Alan Kulwicki.
You know something? Alan Kulwicki has been trying very hard to get by Dale Earnhardt. But I'm not sure right now I would try so hard, because starting on the inside on that last 10-lap deal could be an advantage.
Except, Benny, that it looks like the groove has moved up, at least for some of the cars, if they get the cars adjusted right.
We'll see.
Well, the one question has been answered, and that's that the Chevrolets are working pretty good here. They're running in first, third, and fourth at the moment. Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, apparently Jeff Hammond and the Waltrip crew did a great job making the adjustments during the timeout here just a little bit ago. But also Dale Earnhardt's crew, Bill Elliott's crew, made the same change. Now, what they changed was this front torsion bar, this front sway bar, they call it. It's a little bit hot, so pardon me. This came out of Earnhardt's car. They changed it by 1/16 of an inch. Now, Earnhardt put a bigger one in to tighten the car up in the corner. Elliott put a smaller one in to make the car a little bit looser. Now, Earnhardt may have made the car a little too tight. He can't quite go to the front like he could during that first segment. So maybe an 1/16 of an inch doesn't seem like much to you or me, but in one of these things it controls the entire front steering and turning of a race car. Paul?
It certainly does, Jerry Punch, and the thing that it does counteract is the springs that are in the car. The cars, even though they're the same make of car, really don't have all the same parts in them. The springs are different, so they put different sway bars to counteract how the springs are doing on the racetrack.
Well, we're just past the halfway point in the second race of today's Winston, the 50-lapper, 75 miles. Waltrip leads it, followed by Wallace and Schrader. Dale Earnhardt runs in fourth, then Kulwicki, and then Elliott. A little tire smoke coming off the back of Earnhardt's car. The third place car, Ken Schrader, Jack Arute, is in his pit.
Now, Paul Page, you know, we told you about that oil pump that was ticking like a time bomb beneath the hood of Ken Schrader's car. This is Richard Broom, and Richard, you're doing an awfully good job, or Schrader is, with an oil pump that should be pulling the oil out of the engine instead of pumping it through.
Well, I reckon we're just lucky. There's nothing holding the shaft in the pump. The snap ring is broke, and the shaft is trying to get out the front.
Now, you cannot change oil pumps because it'd take too long. What are you going to do?
We're just going to jerry-rig a deal to try to hold the shaft in it.
Well, that's the story from down here. He's running in 3rd place, though, so it seems to be working well enough right now.
Now just remember one thing, though. If the oil pump lets go, Paul, Benny, it lets go. He probably has a red light in there to tell him no more oil pressure, but the engine is done at that particular time. There's no saving it. These engines are turning better than 7,000 RPM.
And when that goes to 0 oil pressure, the day is done.
The day is absolutely done, and he'll be able to feel it just an instant before it breaks if he doesn't see the red.
Of course, now, if it does go like that, a little bit of danger there if the oil gets out of the motor and onto the racetrack. It could get over your rear wheels.
Well, that's right. The car would spin or make a wet spot for the cars coming along behind you.
In this particular case, Benny, he would have a red light, and he would just kick it out of gear if he sees a red light. Isn't that right?
If he can do it fast enough, eh, Benny?
If he can do it fast enough. But on a bright, sunlit day like today, sometimes you can't see that red light. As we watch Darrell Waltrip next in turn 4, coming down to complete one more lap.
Almost a 2-second lead Waltrip has over Wallace.
Now you notice how high Darrell is running, even going into turn 1 right there. He almost touches the wall. Look at here. Totally the high groove. Totally different from what he did earlier. So obviously the changes that he thought he needed before at the end of the last race, he did them, and they worked because he's definitely in the high groove.
20 laps to go in the 2nd race of the Winston, the 50-lapper. Darrell Waltrip is out in front, followed by Wallace. We'll be back with more coverage of the Winston after this message and a word from our ABC station. We're back live at Charlotte in the Winston, and the view is from the Speedway Club, where the members are enjoying their afternoon, a little lunch, and some terrific racing as we watch Darrell Waltrip, who's got a pretty good record here at Charlotte. 6 different victories, the 85 Winston, the 78, 79, and 85 World 600, and the 500-miler in the fall in 1981. Waltrip leads the race at the moment. This is the 2nd race of the day. And here is the earnings so far coming into the start of this race in the 1989 season. Well, Waltrip's got a chance here in a few minutes to add another $20,000 onto that figure. And if he does it all the way to the end of the day, another $220,000. They pay $20,000 for each of the first 2 races if you win it. And, of course, if you win the 3rd race, the little 10-lap dash, $200,000 richer, Benny.
Wouldn't that be something to have won $600,000 like 9 races into the season?
And a third of it is a result of a single afternoon's drive.
Yes.
Good money and a sure piece of work, doesn't it, Benny?
I'm telling you.
Well,
you know, as
two guys that ought to know.
As Benny and I were watching Wallace just a bit ago, we noticed that he's running pretty sideways coming off the turns. They're really loose. We think what he's done is possibly, there's Ken Schrader, who's been pushing him. I think that Wallace has really been a little bit loose and probably going to adjust his car again.
I'm sure he will be.
Well, Ken Schrader, he runs in 3rd place. We take a look at the top 5. Moving along. Ken Schrader, 3rd place. Moves around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. This ring is Ken Schrader's. It was awarded for his 1983 USAC championship. It came to 85 to NASCAR, driving the Don Levy car.
Several USAC championships in the open wheel cars, and USAC gives you a real nice ring at the end of the year for a champion, like NASCAR does. And this thing had like 12 diamonds in it, and every time I get in the car for my rookie year, Junie'd make me give him the ring. And a couple times I brought the car back pretty bent up. He had scraped one of them diamonds out of there. He chiseled it out, so I was pretty careful with his equipment.
Kenny Schrader runs in 3rd position, runs there alone at the moment. In fact, the top 3 not really closely challenged. Waltrip about 2 seconds out in front of the 2nd place Rusty Wallace. But each of them now trying to decide how to set their position for the last 10-lap run. There's 10 laps left to go in this race. The 75-miler. We'll be back with more after this. Well, we're back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 2nd race in this afternoon's Winston now complete. Rusty Wallace won the first one. Waltrip the second. Average speed thus far at 146 miles an hour. We had a long caution when Kyle Petty got into the wall. He's over at the hospital, but they say he should be all right. Now this second race won by Darrell Waltrip. Let's go down to the pits in Jackaroo.
Well, you saw near the end of that race, Darrell Waltrip was slapping his knee or rubbing his knee. Darrell, what in the heck were you doing there?
My hand went to sleep, and I was kind of waking it up.
Well, it really has been a good race for you in that second installment, but now they light the fuse. Now it's a time bomb for 10 laps. What do you do?
Well, Jack, it comes down to a good start. I'll be on the pole, I reckon. And if I come down here and I get off to a good run and I can get the jump on Rusty and everybody, and I can get in that first turn first, cancel Christmas. But if I get in there and get messed up a little bit, then like you said, the fireworks are going to start.
Well, one of the men that will probably be part of that fireworks is standing by with Jerry Punch right now. Jerry?
Well, this guy waiting to light the fuse also, Jack, in his final 10-lap segment. And Rusty, you had the rocket run the first segment, but the second segment you had a little bit of a problem, even though you finished second. What happened?
Well, on that last stop, somehow mistakenly, we got the right front tire on the right rear accidentally, and there's a difference in circumference. And the car was just real loose. I was having to drive it in almost dead sideways. They got everything right now. We're cooling the engine down real cool, trying to give everything it can. Cooling the car down, cooling myself down. Just going to dry the hell out of it. It's all I can do.
That sums it up. Round 1 to Wallace, round 2 to Waltrip. And I tell you, these guys are cooling off, getting ready for that rubber match. The final round, 10-lap shootout here for the Winston. Paul?
And a couple of confident guys. 5 minutes, 18 seconds left to go on the pit road. The crews, their usual professional job, calmly, quietly preparing the cars. It's the final 10-lap run coming up. Darrell Waltrip sits and waits, and we'll be back. It will be 10 laps now. 10 laps to $200,000. The pace car pulls away. They line up 2 by 2. Waltrip and Wallace, the front row. Then Schrader and Earnhardt make up the second row. The winner of this little 10-lap, 15-mile run will take home $200,000. Already been some pretty good money pocketed. Rusty Wallace moves out on the high side as we take a look now at the field. Wallace to the outside. Waltrip on the pole. Row 1, row 2, Schrader and Earnhardt. Looking back through the field, Kowicki and Elliott will start in the third row. Marlin and Rudd in the fourth row. The fifth row, Davey Allison, Jeff Bodine. The sixth row, Lake Speed and Greg Sachs. The seventh row is now made up of Labonte, the original pole sitter, and Bobby Hillin Jr. And the eighth row, Neil Bonnet and Harry Gant. The ninth row, Richard Petty, Phil Parsons. There is no 10th row. Morgan Shepherd and Kyle Petty are out of the race. Kyle Petty going to the hospital, not believed to be seriously injured, but still they wanted to take a look at him. And Morgan Shepherd just pulling out of the competition. We look back from the pace car now. We're ready to go. We're ready for 10 laps of fire.
You know, I talked about at the very top of the show how this race is for the fan and how it generates interest for the fan. I'm excited, aren't you, Paul?
Well, I am pumped for this one. Chevrolet has won 3 of the last 4 Winstons. Will they do it again today? They're on the pole for this start.
Now keep in mind, Darrell is on the bottom, on the pole. Rusty Wallace is on the outside, Paul. That's just exactly the opposite of where Darrell was going fast at the latter part of the last race. I think if he had a choice, he would prefer to be on the outside, don't you, Benny?
I don't know. I think with the cold tires, he would want to be on the inside for the first 2 or 3 laps. Then we see Darrell going back and forth, getting the tires buffed in just a little bit, because the next time by, green flag and the fuse is lit.
For $200,000.
Whoa! And then we're going to see some racing. The view from the Speedway Club, boy, they're on their feet there. The fans in the stands, they're all on their feet. And I don't think we're going to see anybody sit down.
Hey, you folks at home, are you sitting down or standing up? Stand up like the rest of us. This is exciting.
Just the first turn. 1 lap to go now, Bobby Unser.
10-lap trophy dash. We've all seen that in our local races, you know, a trophy dash, but this is really a trophy dash for an amazing $200,000.
Difference here is we're talking the best in NASCAR, and listen to that crowd. Boy, are they pumped and ready to go. Look at them. Over 100,000, 10 laps, $200,000 for the winner. The field is on the backstretch. The rows forming up. A real partisan crowd. Everyone has their favorites. Will it be Waltrip? Will it be Wallace? Schrader, Earnhardt, Kowicki. Any one of them could have a chance in this 10-lap dash.
They've raced 125 laps to get to this place right here, Paul.
The pace car pulls down. The field carefully sorts itself out. Wallace drops back just a bit. Look at Schrader. He wants to be right up there behind Darrell.
He's not letting Darrell get any way away from him. He's okay, Darrell. If you go in the infield, I'm following you, buddy.
Dale Earnhardt, the black number 3 car. The same sort of position as the flag comes out. The fuse is lit, and the bomb is about to let go. Waltrip picks up the lead. Then Wallace, Schrader, Earnhardt drops into 4th.
Darrell Waltrip went right to the bottom, exactly where Benny said he would go. Tires anew, went to the bottom, tried to block Rusty from coming by.
Everybody held their breath there into the 3rd turn. Waltrip, Wallace, Schrader receiving a challenge now, a little lower by Earnhardt.
Both those cars drove in turn 3 extremely hard, too hard, went to the top of the racetrack. If Schrader could have been there, he would have been able to get by, but no. He now closes up on the back of Wallace and looks going through turn 1.
Wallace came down low across the stripe, held off Schrader. Waltrip continues to lead.
He went right to the top of the track. As soon as he got to turn 3, right back to the top where he was the last race ball. The same back down 1 and 2. Now watch, he'll go right to the top of the group here.
1st through 4th, they're all fighting. Out in front, the 17 car. That's Waltrip. Can he do it? He won the Daytona 500. Can he win the Winston? That's never been done.
I remember another thing that almost all the cars were sure have done. It's a tape up the front a little bit to keep less air from going in. Increases the straightaway speed a little bit, but it also makes the engine run very hot. But it's just for a short time period.
I'd say they also loosened the cars up a little bit. Normally you can't run a loose car at a great distance, but Benny, when there's $200,000 out there in 10 laps, you can loosen it up a bunch.
Rusty Wallace, he said he was very loose. I don't know if he's left it that way or he tightened the car up, but he's not able to gain on Darrell Waltrip as they come off.
Clear Waltrip through. They're not going to let a breath out until the end of these 10 laps. Waltrip still out in front. Wallace chases.
10 laps, just like a qualifying race. 10 laps flat out. The radiators are pretty much covered up. They're probably going to burn the engines down, but for $200,000, who cares?
About 6.5 laps to go now. It's still Waltrip out in front. Wallace closes in. Wallace closes on the back end. That Chevy Lumina of Waltrip is working today. It was a question mark before the start. He's being chased by the Pontiac of Wallace. And then 3rd place is a Chevy as well. Darrell Waltrip, that 1 foot propped up, works his way down in the corner, pulls down with both hands, takes the high groove onto the backstretch.
He doesn't look like a guy that's trying to win $250,000, does he?
Calm, looking out the front windshield of that car, calculating his bank account if only he can get it through the next 5.5 laps.
Now Rusty's going to stay at the bottom a little bit, or at least lower than Darrell is, because Darrell is so high on the racetrack that Rusty couldn't get high on the outside, so he's going to have to keep working the bottom, see if he can't get a little bit of dry pavement and get a shot at him in there. Look at that.
There's Rusty. Halfway point. Rusty closes in.
I'm sorry, Paul, but he closed in on the back bumper of Waltrip. He's only 1 car length away.
The fight continues to turn 3. Waltrip still out in front, but let's watch the 27 car of Rusty Wallace. That Pontiac begins to power up behind Waltrip.
He's running harder, Paul. He has to run harder. It's the only chance he's got. He's going to have to go at the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to have to hope he can just get a hold of something.
Will it come down to a last lap dash? Look at Wallace. Once again, he comes low inside. Waltrip goes to the high line, off of 2, on the backstretch. Waltrip continues to lead it.
Now remember, Darrell will pull down a little bit if he has to. Anything he has to do that's at least being fair, he's going to do to keep Rusty from going by. If he thinks Rusty's going to try, like in the middle, Darrell will move down.
Rusty Wallace pulled up literally on the back bumper of Darrell Waltrip, gripping on turn 4. Rusty right now has a little bit the fastest race car, guys.
The crowd cheering Wallace on. Just over 2.5 laps to go. When they came across the stripe, it was 3 to go. Already they're on the backstretch. Wallace setting up behind Waltrip. $200,000 on the line. And the championship of the 5th annual Winston.
The $200,000 shootout. Winner take all.
Wallace closes in again. The closest he's been the last few laps. But again, Waltrip is able to power away.
2 laps to go. 3 miles. And it's close.
Ooh,
Look at him smoke the tire, and boy, Wallace gives it a try.
Wow, he jerked that car trying to get underneath Darrell Waltrip and smoked the right rear tire.
He's even down running on the apron, man. He tried to get a little bit of dry pavement there.
Darrell Waltrip in the fourth corner now. Wallace comes down low again. He smokes the tire. Waltrip loses it as they touch. Waltrip spins it backwards across the grass as they come to the white flag. The yellow flag comes out. The yellow flag comes out. And that means that the lap is not going to count. But can Waltrip get it going?
He's still got his engine running, Paul. He's still trying to get around. Of course, he's going to be way behind.
Special rule, though. Special rule. Unless it's on the last lap, which it was not. These laps don't count. It'll still be a run.
But he has to start at the back of the pack. And he will not be able to catch the cars starting at the back of the pack.
The question will be, is how will they line up behind Wallace for a one-lap dash?
Now, there's going to be one mad Darrell Waltrip. Look at his wife. Tears in her eyes. She's very sad. $200,000 lost right there.
Stevie
I'm
Waltrip
sure
was counting that money, I
Well,
think.
I don't think Rusty Wallace meant to hit him, but it just shows you what happens when they run as close as they do sometimes.
Waltrip, a little more grim face than he was a few seconds ago. He had hoped by this time to be counting his $200,000 prize. They'll line up behind the pace car. Where will Waltrip position his machine, Benny?
I don't quite understand why Darrell didn't go in the pits and change 4 tires, because we know that the tires on the car has to be flat spotted the way that he slid coming off turn 4.
Winner take all, Benny. He really doesn't have a lot to gain, right? He's just going to be in the back end anyway.
That's
so
right.
For one lap, what difference does it make? The main thing is it's one sad Darrell Waltrip.
Benny, here's the onboard camera.
We see him going in turn 3. He goes to the bottom, comes off the throttle. We see his right foot come up, lets the car drift up. Rusty Wallace is right behind him. He feels it, he touches. We see we touched. Darrell's trying to get the car back, but no, it's around. We see him turn back like Kyle Petty did, but the car is already around. He hits the brakes and simply lets the car come to a halt.
And Rusty gambled that there was going to be a hole on the outside, so he just went by on the outside, and luckily enough for him, Darrell wasn't there.
Okay, the question is, Rusty Wallace caused the problem. If that's true,
well, here
is there a penalty?
Here
Take a look here, Benny.
Rusty's trying to get underneath him just a moment ago. We saw the right rear tire smoke on Rusty's car from the other angle. Rusty trying desperately to get under. He touches Darrell Waltrip in the left rear. Around goes Darrell.
It absolutely was Rusty's fault. There's no question about that. They were just both trying very hard. Rusty possibly tried a little too hard.
The laps under yellow. The last 10 laps don't count. Let's go to the pits. Jerry Bunch.
We're with Barry Dotson, Rusty Wallace's crew chief. And Barry, what did Rusty tell you happened out there between him and Darrell?
He said he got under Darrell and then everything got close. So I guess Darrell didn't give him any room, and evidently they touched. He didn't really know. He said he got down under him clean, all of a sudden he was gone.
Rusty Wallace's version is lack of racing room coming out of turn 4. That's the reason for the spin, he says. Paul?
Benny, I don't think so.
Well, no, he was trying very hard to get underneath Darrell, but there was room down there, but they were both trying to go for the same spot.
Well,
racing for the lead.
It's just unfortunate.
Racing for their money. Let's go to the pits, Jack Arute.
Well, I'm with the car owner of Darrell Waltrip's car and the car that's in second place, Rick Hendrick. Of course, the car in second place is Kenny Schrader. Did Darrell say anything on the radio about what happened, Rick?
Nothing to say.
I think this time silence says it all, gentlemen.
Some anger there in the pits. A lot of money on the line. That brings the emotions higher. Darrell Waltrip sits in the back of this field. Worked his way up in the lineup past the cars that are a lap down, but he'll still start well back. His chances for this day are gone as he talks to his pit on the radio.
Yeah, he's telling Jeff and all the crew and Rick Hendrick listening in exactly what happened, what he feels like happened anyway.
Our hat has to go off to Darrell Waltrip. He drove an extremely good race. It really wasn't his fault. The sad thing would have to happen just one lap from the end to lose $200,000 and all the prestige that goes along with it.
Darrell Waltrip, there he is, back in the field. They'll come to the green flag with Wallace in front, followed by Schrader, Earnhardt, Elliott, Sterling Marlin, who remember came into this race in the Winston Open and started 20th in the first race, now running in 5th.
Here we see, look, all these teams crowded around a NASCAR official. I don't know what they could be talking about, but there's 3 or 4 different teams crowded around one official.
Well, there's certainly the question of how the two cars came together, and I think also a question about how many laps will they actually have when they come back to green. So the pace car leads the field around while they try to do the best possible cleanup they can on the circuit. And we'll be back for the finish right after this. We're back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway. When they come back to green, there will be one lap to go. But first, let's go take a look at the situation that set up this caution flag. Rusty Wallace was chasing Darrell Waltrip. Wallace had been loose for a couple of corners. He closed in trying to get by Waltrip to pick up the lead, and then they just tapped one another. And when they did, Waltrip lost control. Wallace tried to slow, was able to get past to the high side, and Waltrip spun across the grass. Let's go to the pits and Jack Arute.
And Paul, Darrell did bring his car onto pit road, took on 4 new tires because he's got to come from the back, but they waited until the last moment because of the discussion by the NASCAR officials as to whether we had 1 lap or 2 laps when we went back to green. When they got the official word, they said, come on in, but it's a bittersweet problem and a situation right now on pit road in the Darrell Waltrip pit.
All right, well, did that little bump cost Darrell Waltrip about $185,000? He stood to win $200,000. Pace car has moved off the course. Kenny Schrader has moved up right behind Rusty Wallace. We watch for the flag. Accident happened on the 8th lap. We start then the 8th lap. 2 laps to go as the green flag flies. And it's Wallace leading Schrader and beginning to pull away.
He is beginning to pull away. Schrader stayed right on his bumper on the restart, but Rusty Wallace now has a 3-car length advantage off turn 2.
Earnhardt's in 3rd, Schrader 2nd. Wallace leads it.
Regardless of what happened with Wallace and Darrell Waltrip, he still got the race. It's still $200,000, 2 laps to do it. So the answer is still the same for him. He's got to go fast.
$200,000 just a mile and a half away as the white flag signaling the last lap comes out. Schrader closes in on Wallace on the final lap in the first turn. Schrader right at the back end, but look at the power in Wallace's Pontiac as he pulls onto the backstretch. Schrader looks for a little clean air.
What happened is Schrader drove the car in the corner just a little bit too hard, got the car pushing. He didn't make this mistake again, but I don't think he can make up the difference.
Just no time, Benny. They're coming down for the checkered flag now, Paul.
Wallace with a Pontiac Bauer and the checkered flag as Wallace picks up $200,000 and the Winston. The Winston has been won by Rusty Wallace, followed by Ken Schrader and then Dale Earnhardt. $200,000 on a single 15-mile long. 15 miles and 200 grand. Rusty Wallace is the winner. We'll be back to talk with Rusty right after this.
I'm Jack Arute here in Victory Lane at the end of the Winston, and Rusty Wallace has won it a little bit controversially, though.
Yeah, you know, it's just this 10 laps is a rough 10 laps, man. You got to drive hard. Darrell was driving hard. I was driving hard. I got up underneath him coming off at turn 4. We just got together. He come down. I tried to help my groove. We both just touched. That's all there was to it. You know, I would have rather finished the race, me winning it, and nothing like that happening. But, you know, it happened this way in '87, and I don't think those guys were doing that on purpose either, and I didn't have nothing to do with doing that on purpose. It was a tough race. I'm sorry for Darrell. Glad we won. I'd like to thank Kodiak, Pontiac, Mobile One, AC Spark Plugs, everybody.
Paul, that's it from Victory Lane.
Well, Rusty Wallace picks up $200,000, but this was earlier. As you can see, the tempers are hot when there's that much money on the line, as quite a fight broke out just outside of the winner's circle here. Officials and other team members moved in trying to break it up. Went on for just a few minutes. So when you have that much money, you just naturally have a confrontation. And that's what we've seen today. Final results of the Winston. Rusty Wallace wins it, Ken Schrader, and then Earnhardt, Elliott, Alan Kulwicki. Now, boxing is coming up next, but we'll continue to follow the story here from Charlotte, and we'll give you some updates throughout the boxing. We'll be able to talk to Darrell Waltrip and some of the others. We'll be back at Charlotte during boxing. Well, Dan, we've had a very controversial finish of the Winston. Rusty Wallace has won it, but there's a very angry Darrell Waltrip. Let's go down to the pits with that story.
Well, a lot of emotions here in the Tide truck, and Darrell, one of them was anger when you guys got back here. What happened those last couple laps?
Car got I was a little bit loose in 3 and 4, and I guess Rusty saw that. So coming down to get the white flag, he just drove in under me up there and just turned me around. It didn't take a lot, but you know, with some people, you know how they are. So if you open the door, I guess you get what, I guess you can expect something like that. It was uncalled for. I could never race. I could never walk through this garage area having done that to someone, but some people can, and more power to them, I guess.
Darrell, after the race, there was an altercation outside of Victory Lane, both of the crews getting together a little bit. What are your feelings about that?
Well, the emotion's high, you know. This is a show, and it's sort of like the animals are getting a little tense right there at the end of the show, and one of them might bite you. So the tension was high. That was totally uncalled for out there. And the thing that I'm most upset about is NASCAR, first of all, not putting me back in the lead, because they went back to the last green flag lap, they said. I was leading that lap. Second of all, that they don't put a stop to something like that. That's the two things I think are so wrong. And I guess, you know, we'll have to live with all that stuff. I guess everybody got what they paid for today.
Darrell, rumored is that Rick Hendrick may protest the finish because of the rules stating that you should have been back up front.
Oh, I don't know what good it'd do. You know, we can't go back and run the thing over. And he's absolutely correct. I mean, you can't go back to the last green lap and not put it back like it was. They put everybody else back like it was. And I didn't spin out. I got knocked out. So I should have been allowed to go back to the front. If they're going to do it right, I mean, to me, that's what they just took $200,000 away from me and told that boy that what he did was A-OK, do it again, buddy, if you got to.
That's Darrell Waltrip. Let's go to Jack Arute. Jack?
I'm here with Les Richter, who's the Vice President of Competition for NASCAR. And Les, what's the official ruling on the finish of this race?
Well, right at this point in time, Rusty Wallace is the winner of Winston.
Any fines anticipated for not only what happened on the racetrack, but the altercation, the fist fight after the race?
I think the altercation of the fist fight is going to draw some attention. As far as the incident that took place in the racetrack, there was two cars racing for the finish, and they got together. One came down, one might have gone up. It's hard to say. We are looking at it from a different perspective than maybe a television camera is.
Well, that's the word from NASCAR, and they certainly do have the last word in competition here in the Winston.
Well, Darrell Waltrip said it philosophically, but NASCAR has said it officially now. The race is official. The $200,000 belongs to Rusty Wallace. Now, just a final update on Kyle Petty, who was involved in that accident earlier on. He's been taken to Memorial Hospital in Charlotte. They've x-rayed him. The x-rays are negative, no brakes. That they'll keep him overnight for observation, but he should be just fine. So that's the story from here at Charlotte. Let's go up to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Last day of qualifying, and Sam Posey.